All I'm saying is people got mad at me for saying Sage and Stone to 2, and now Konami did nothing. So
What's up, everybody? Circus here, coming at you with, well, I guess ban list talk, right? What's going to be hot, what's not, post ban list. I brought Herf in here because we can decide if he's hot or he's not.
I feel hot.
No, Herf.
Maybe it's just because I have a sweatshirt on. Maybe I should take it off.
Well, a lot of people say Herf is hot. I say he's not. You let me know in the comments
Wait,
below.
what? You don't think I'm hot? That's not what you said to me last night.
Anyways, Herf has some crazy ideas about what's going to be hot in the meta going forward. I don't know if I agree with all of them, but we can get talking about them here. So you have 3 decks that you think are going to be good, right?
Yeah, I would say that 3 decks have like the most to gain, especially from the demise of Dark Lords. Like Dark Lords was the most oppressive deck in the game, so that with them out of the meta, it'll essentially allow decks that rely on effect activation to rise up again. And I think the first one would be Fire Kings that we should talk about. Fire Kings kind of have slowly gotten out of the meta since Stick Chair Dark Lords just negates all their effects whenever they want to activate and just kills them pretty easily, which is obviously bad for them.
Yeah, you don't want to get killed if you want to win.
Yeah, I mean, getting killed is pretty bad. Yeah. So I think that Fire Kings is a rogue deck that'll see a lot more play, especially because it does have a decent Blue Eyes matchup. And I think it actually should have a pretty good Harpy matchup.
Mm-hmm. You think Harpies are going to be pretty good?
I think Harpies and Blue Eyes will be essentially like the 2 best decks. I think Harpies will almost just like replace Dark Lords as like a good deck, except you can interact more with Harpies, obviously.
Right.
But I think those will be the 2 best decks, and then everything else will just be countering those 2.
Now, this is before the new box comes out. I mean, the new box comes out, they could change everything, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are some interesting cards in the new box. I haven't really paid much attention to it. I don't like to read a bunch of the cards before they come. I like to kind of see what actually happens when it's released, because there's so much like hype before it comes where it's like it's not even in the game yet.
Yeah, let's see what it actually does.
Yeah, I mean, plus I'm not just gonna buy everything because it's there. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm a smart investor. That's why I bought Dark Lords back in the day.
Wait, what are you saying? What's wrong with buying everything just because it's there? What's wrong with that?
I mean, it's not.
I don't understand what you're saying.
The most efficient use of your dollars.
Well, when you got money like me, you know.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't have to worry about efficiency.
Maybe one day I could be like you.
Yeah, one day you'll grow up.
But anyways, the reason I think that Fire Kings could be good against Harpies is Harpies either destroy or they bounce stuff to the hand, as well as they don't really like their entire field to be destroyed, right? Like that's generally a bad thing for Harpies. Yeah, they have some recovery options, but they can only recover like 1 to 2 cards, and that huge investment of the Synchro plus other cards a lot of times is pretty difficult to just like pop back up.
Right, and having to play through hand traps is always a pain because you never know how many they have.
Plus, Arvada's a monster effect negate, which is pretty difficult for
for Harpies
them to play through. Yeah. So.
All right, so another deck which I have on screen right now is the Water deck that we're seeing. You said the Water deck's gonna be pretty good, huh?
I think if my prediction about Fire Kings becoming good again is true, which I think it will, and I think Water has always had a decent Blue Eyes matchup. It's never been, well, I guess at one point it was extremely dominant, and then it kind of decreased. I think if Water techs correctly, they could definitely essentially have Blue Eyes on a leash, as well as they naturally counter Fire Kings a lot, especially if they choose to play like 1 Necro Valley.
Mm-hmm.
Just because being able to lock the grave is extremely powerful, especially against like Blue Eyes and Fire Kings, which primarily rely on the graveyard. So if you just like lock it, it's kind of difficult for them to play.
Okay, so what was keeping Water out of the meta? Was it Dark Lords?
Yeah, Water really struggled against Dark Lords because, I mean, what does your Dweller? So I normal summon Diva, gets negated. Okay, pass turn.
Right, they had no way to play through it.
Yeah, especially as well as even if you get your Dweller out, you can like, okay, I can pop 1 card.
Right.
And Dark Lords are like, cool, I have like 10 more.
Right. What are you gonna do? Yeah.
Like just like one interruption or even two interruptions a lot of times was not really enough to meaningfully stop Dark Lords, as well as their monsters were just naturally bigger than water monsters, right? I mean, they're just big bodies,
Hmm.
which is somewhat difficult for water to deal with.
Now, both the decks we were just talking about, Fire Kings and Water deck, none of their skills were touched, so that's good for them. But the last deck you wanted to talk about, their skill got tapped.
Thunder Dragon!
And in case you can't understand what he just said, it was Thunder Dragons.
Yeah, I think this deck could actually be pretty good. I think they definitely will switch over to Allured by Darkness, because Allure is a really good, an insane card, as well as they're able to run hand traps to deal with harpies. They're able to they're able to constantly spam cards so they can play through one effect negate a lot of times, like if they're playing against Fire Kings, as well as they're the only deck now that will be able to play Levianeer, and Levianeer is essentially the biggest counter to Blue Eyes, right? That just like non-targeting pop 2 is an insane effect, and it's the only deck that'll be able to play Melody. It's the only deck that'll be able to reliably summon Levianeer. So ultimately, if Blue Eyes is truly going to remain the best deck, I think that Thunder Dragons with Dark Lords out of the meta will have a solid chance.
So why don't you go over the skill change again? Because what were they playing before? Level Dupe?
Yeah, level Dupe.
And they're explain that, why they used it, and then why they'd be switching over to the other one.
So level Dupe was really nice because you could just essentially, dupe a level from your hand onto the field, or on like a monster on the field, and that was just nice to be able to instantly go into Xyz plays. And so now they're making it so you have to have 3,000 or lower life points, which so you have to activate Cosmic first, which is a limit 3. So all of those kind of things, Thunders don't really like to do. And it's especially hard to go like turn 1 if you don't open optimally, all that kind of stuff, yada, yada, yada. With that out of the picture now, because it's at 3,000 life points, and they would have to proc it using Cosmic Cyclone, which isn't optimal, like I said. They're going to go to Allured by Darkness, which is a skill that they used in the past, but then they switched to level duplication once Xyz hit. But basically what Allured by Darkness says is that once your life points decrease by 1,500, you can draw Allure of Darkness instead of your normal draw. And what this does is you get to draw 2 cards, then banish 1 dark monster from your hand. And if you can't, all of your cards go to the grave. But most of the cards in the Thunder Dragon list are dark, so you have no problem. And plus, when you have to banish one, if you banish a dark, you get just a search, and if you banish a roar, you get a free summon to the field. So all of these are just pluses. It's all pluses.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why it's going to be really good, and you're going to be able to extremely consistently get into Levianeer, pop to play through Blue Eyes. Harpies will have somewhat of a difficult time, but I think Harpies, they can side for Thunder Dragons a lot easier than other decks maybe. Mm-hmm. So we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, there you go. 3 decks that Herf thinks will do well post-ban list. We'll have to wait and see. It's interesting. I can't wait to see what comes back because the meta's been so restricted. But I still think Blue Eyes is going to be on top. But hopefully,
it's ridiculous.
Hopefully, these other decks will be able to compete with them. So hopefully,
all I'm saying is people got mad at me for saying Sage and Stone to 2. And now Konami did nothing. So,
well, they did something.
I hope you were happy with your decision.
Yeah, it wasn't much. So we're gonna be putting up with Blue Eyes for the next 3 months. Hopefully, we can see these decks at least return to the power rankings or something.
Yeah,
for once. All right,
right.
We're gonna all right. We're gonna get out of here. Get in the Discord because we're talking about this nonstop in there. It's free. The tournaments are free. Actually, we got a lot of high prize pool free tournaments coming up. So if you want to get into those, make sure to check that out. And the new player help is free too. So get in there.
Wonderful.
All right, guys, we're gonna get out of here. I'm Circus. That's Hoif. See you next time.